Hey legends, what's up? It's Darkmech here from Big Dumb Gaming, and here I am again making another guide for the Guardian Druid Mage Tower. So the reason being is there have been some changes since the first guide I put out. Changes around Trinkets, Cruel, the Nether Horrors. There's been some bits that I wish I had have expanded on. There's also been some things that I wanted to add in. And the reason I'm doing that is I want people trying to complete this challenge to have a centralized point where all the information is accurate right now, and it gives them the best chance to get through this challenge. So same structure as I had in the last one. We're going to cover off talents, consumables, macros, gearing, the gear I used. We're going to talk about what works and what doesn't work in the mage towers. We're going to break down the fight in phase 1 and phase 2, and then I'm going to walk you through the fight of my kill video basically. So there's timestamps in the description below and on the video, so if you want to skip anywhere, just go nuts. But hopefully we can get you the information that you need to get this done. Alright, so we're going to start off with talents. So talents wise, level 15 Brambles. It's a really solid DPS option here. You can couple it up with Bark Skin, every set of ads basically to turn it into a pseudo DPS cooldown. It's really strong in single target. It's really strong in AoE as well. And it is one of the best ways that you can get rid of the ads really quickly that a lot of people have issues with in this fight. So level 15, Brambles is the pick. Level 25, Renewal or Wild Charge. I personally am a fan of Renewal. I like the 30% instant heal. It's a nice safe pick. However, Wild Charge is a really good safe pick as well. It gives you another safety measure in case you get caught by an Eye or an Infernal. You do have gliders throughout this, but this gives you another safety as well. So Wild Charge is also a really strong pick. Level 30, Balance Affinity. The extra range on your ability is amazing. You also gain Typhoon, which is another knockback on the drain life. It's nice with the ads as well. Balance Affinity is the best pick here. Level 35, Mighty Bash or Heart of the Wild. This all depends on what you want to do. So Mighty Bash is a really nice option in phase 2. It's not required in phase 1 at all. But it is nice for delaying annihilates on Cruel in phase 2. Heart of the Wild, on the other hand, is really nice for being able to blitz your way through phase 1 in the hopes of going through to Cruel with 1-2 max Infernals up. So if you're comfortable in Boomy at the start of the fight, Heart of the Wild is a fantastic pick. Otherwise, you could just take Mighty Bash and get the most out of that in phase 2. Level 40, Galactic Guardian or Incarnation. So Galactic Guardian is a really strong choice just based around sustained damage. It probably nets you more value in phase 1, where you're spending a fair bit of time outside of Aura of Decay. Incarn, on the other hand, is just something nice to have in your pocket, especially in phase 2, just for the safety that it offers in regards to rage regen, not having to think, because you can kind of just go on a spam and convert all of that rage into Iron Fur. It makes picking up the ads easy when they're coming out as well with your thrash spam. So Incarn's my pick, but I've seen the tower done with both, and they're both really strong choices. Level 45, Survival of the Fittest is the pick here. So Survival of the Fittest is just a really good pick. It is the best pick on this row. It gives you more access to your Bark Skin and Survival Instincts, which can come in huge handy in phase 1 and especially in phase 2. And you'll also find with Survival of the Fittest that you will have Bark Skin up basically every time the Nether Horrors are spawning, which means you can couple that up with Brambles to nuke them down really quickly. Level 50, Rend and Tear. So I think this is just the best pick on this row. So Pulverize provides another DR with a 35% damage reduction for 10 seconds, which is nice, but it's not required. So phase 1 is mechanical execution, and phase 2 is basically a DPS race with your CDs lined up around Annihilate. So there's enough survivability in our toolkit not to require that. Rend and Tear is just a smaller damage reduction with a damage increase. It's the best pick. Alright guys, so looking at consumables now. So Goblin Glider, if you're an engineer, make sure that you have a glider on your cloak. If you're not, make sure you have a stack of Goblin Glider kits in your bag. They're extremely handy, especially if you lose focus for a second and you cop an Infernal Punt, or you miss an eye facing and you get sent off the platform. It's an easy recovery. Drums, all drums actually provide the same benefit in time walking, so just go with whatever drums are cheapest at the moment. On the auction house, drums of Deathly Ferocity are the current Shadowlands ones, and you're going to want to pop these every time you go into phase 2 and Cruel comes down, because Cruel is just a damage check. You have to beat him before you get overwhelmed by Annihilates, basically. Scrolls. So BFA scrolls are another nice easy power boost that you can take into the Mage Tower. So there's 3 that are applicable to us: War Scroll of Battle Shout, War Scroll of Fortitude, and War Scroll of Intellect. Runes, Augment Runes, these will grant you +5 primary. The Veiled Augment Rune from Shadowlands works in here as well, as long as if you are playing in Legion and you purchase the Light Forged Augment Rune, you can bust that out as well. Anything that gives you +5 primary from those runes is the way to go. Pots, so you got a few options here, and I'm going to leave this open in case it gets changed and tuned, because I'm not making another video for the sake of a pot. Potion of Unbridled Fury at the moment is doing crazy damage, like nutty damage, okay? That is your number 1 pick at the moment. If that gets changed, you can go to your other options. So Prolonged Power, it will give you 40 primary for 60 seconds, which isn't too bad for a large space of time. The BFA pots, the Superior Battle Potion of Agility, will get you 105 primary for 25 seconds. So if Unbridled Fury got nerfed, that would be your next choice. And then the Shadowlands pots at the moment, the Spectral Agilities, they'll give you 54 primary for 25 seconds. Health pots, Legion health pots, the Abyssal Healing Potions are the best. They give you 4,950 health back. The Abyssal Healing pots from BFA are next on the list. And then in third place are the Spiritual Healing Potions from Shadowlands. Weapon oils, we're going to go with Shadow Core Oil. It's the best option here. Flask-wise, Flask of the Greater Flask of the Currents, the BFA Flask, will net you 31 primary at the moment and is the best choice. The Legion Flask, 7th Demon, will get you 21 primary, and the Shadowlands Flask will get you 20 primary. Food-wise, guys, Borealis Blood Sausage, this will get you 13 primary. Mr. Pandaria, the Sea Mist Rice Noodles, will get you 10 primary, and the Feast of the Gluttonous Hedonism, which is the Shadowlands Feast, will get you 7 primary. Now, if you're chasing secondary stats instead, you can get 18 versatility out of Sweet Silver Grill Sausages from Shadowlands. Lastly, Armor Kits. The Heavy Desolate Armor Kit will give you +10 stamina. It's your best option here. So talking about macros, there's only one really important macro that you need for this tower if you don't already have it, and it's a Focus Interrupt macro. So there's one on the screen at the moment, the Focus Skull Bash macro. In phase 1, your focus target will be Varus. You'll press the interrupt button that this macro is assigned to, and it'll just Skull Bash him no matter what you're targeting. Takes the guessing, takes the stress out of it, I guess. In phase 2, you'll have Cruel as your focus target, and every time Cruel goes to cast Twisted Reflections, you'll press the macro button. It'll interrupt Cruel. Easy peasy. Alright, so let's talk about enchants. So enchants are going to depend on what gear you have. And if you've gone and farmed out a bunch of sockets from things like Throne of Thunder or Siege of Orgrimmar is the most common one, then you will have items that are below level 50, which means that you will be able to apply a whole bunch of the old world enchants to them. So I'm going to give you the best enchant list here. If you haven't bothered to do this and you're just doing it in your Shadowlands gear, you can skip forward. But a lot of the Siege of Orgrimmar gear will land you with a bunch of sockets. It'll be between level 45 and 47. So you'll lose out on a little bit of stamina, but you will make a heap of primary off it. So enchants wise, neck, Mark of the Hidden Satire, or Mark of the Claw, or Mark of the Trained Soldier is also another option. Shoulders, Greater Tiger Claw Inscription, Cloak, Fortified Leech, Chest, Eternal Stats, wrists, Greater Agility, hands, Major Agility, belt, a Living Steel Belt Buckle, legs, Shadow Leather Leg Armor, feet, Eternal Agility, rings, you can either go with Accord or Tenant of Versatility, and then weapons wise, we've got a few options. So Dancing Steel, Sinful Revelation, Celestial Guidance, or one that's been coming out and appearing a bit now is Force Multiplier. And people are bringing out the Claws of Ursok and putting Force Multiplier on the main hand. And they're having quite a bit of success with that. So something to keep in mind. Gems wise, if you've gone to the effort of grinding out, and when I say the effort, if you go and do one Siege of Orgrimmar run, you will come out loaded with sockets. You're going to want to fill them with things, okay? So meta gem wise, you got two options: an Agile Primal Diamond from Mr. Pandaria, or Agile Shadow Spirit Diamond from Cataclysm. These will be your two meta gems that you'll chase. And you'll get 3 agility and a 3% increased critical strike effect from those. Now, agility gems that you can chase, you can get a +7 agility Leviathan's Eye. You can have one of those. A +6 agility Kraken's Eye. You can have one of those. A 6 agility Saber's Eye. Again, you can only have one of those. And then you can have +4 agility and +3 agility gems. And the +3 agility gems are obviously going to be the cheaper ones. And you can just fill your gear up with them and you'll be more than fine. Primary scales really well in the Mage Tower, and the more you can have of it, generally the better it is. So that segues us into gearing and the gear that I use. So I'm not going to give you a best in slot time walking set spread from, Throne of Thunder, Siege of Orgrimmar, Chromie time walking gear and all that kind of stuff. If you want to make the effort to do this, there is an advantage in doing that. And I know there's a lot of complaints going on around that at the moment, because there's kind of two ways that you can go with this. Now, you can either buy the crafted PvP gear if you do not want to miss out on any stamina whatsoever off the auction house, or you can craft it if you've got the recipes. Now, it's the Gladiator crafted PvP gear. It requires level 47 and it has an item level of 54, so you don't lose out on any stamina. They're about 20k a piece at the moment on the auction house. Keep in mind, if you want to put a shoulder enchant and a leg enchant on though, you will need to pick up the level 48 gear, not the level 54 gear in the shoulder and leg slots. Now, if you don't want to spend that much gold, as I've said, you can go and do Siege of Orgrimmar. You will come out with like up to 12 or 14 sockets probably. It's absolutely mental. And then you haven't had any expenditure on that. And you can just buy like 14 plus 3 Agi gems, which, might be 10 to 14,000 gold, which isn't a lot. And it gets you a whole heap of primary to sink into this tower to make your life that little bit easier. Okay, so before I go any further into gearing, I just want to cover off the gear that I use to give you an idea and an example of how I was set up in the time walking challenge. So I bought a few of the level 54 gladiator crafted pieces here. So the dreadful gladiator pieces. So I bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of this. Okay, and from that I was able to net a decent amount of secondaries, primary, and extra sockets. So in my helm, I had the Agile Primal Diamond, so the 3 agility and 3 increased critical strike effect, and then I had a 3 agility. Now, most of my gems here, the reds, are just 3 agilities, because as you would know, consumables are pretty nutty at the moment, but it's more than fine. It's still a bucket load of extra agility. Enchants, as we spoke about before, are all the same. So the leg enchants, I couldn't put a shoulder enchant on this because it's level 54. Remember, if you want shoulder and leg enchants, you have to buy the 48 pieces. Mark of the Trained Soldier on my Pridaz, so I had a 7 agility in my Pridaz there. And I could have had an extra 6 and another 7 agility one, but I originally set this up to go with, I don't have the polearm anymore. I had the polearm Hellscream's Pig Stick, I think it's called. And I had Dancing Steel on it, but Dancing Steel received a nerf and it just does not proc as much anymore. So it's not really the play anymore. So I got rid of that. So I could have had a bit of extra agility, and those unique agility gems generally aren't as expensive either. So that was my setup. Trinkets wise, I used the Grondtooth Warhorn. Now, this trinket has a strength proc on it, which is absolutely useless for bears. The good thing about this heirloom trinket though is the 3 secondaries on it, and the big factor is the increased damage against demons. So you get a proc on this which increases all damage you deal by 10% for 15 seconds against demons. Now, Varus is a demon and Cruel is a demon. If you get a killing blow, the eyes, the nether horrors all count as that. You will extend that 10% buff by 8 seconds. So you can get a fairly large amount of uptime whilst you're doing this on Varus in phase 1 especially. And then if you're lucky, you can kind of get a decent uptime going in phase 2 as well if you get lucky with procs. There is another one too, the Infallible Tracking Charm, which probably works out better for phase 2. It's this one here, so it's an agility one. You get the 10% buff, but it only lasts for 5 seconds. There's no way to extend it. You will get a fire instant damage proc off it though, and that is also okay. It probably works out better in phase 2 in just focusing on Cruel. Second trinket wise, I used the reactive defense matrix because it was pretty much all I had, and weapons wise, I used Destiny's Call because it's really nice. The secondary boost in there is really nice, being a angel of death sort of deal. I don't know, it makes me feel cool. So that's what I ran with. So that was my gear for this, guys. So now I want to talk to you about the trinkets that can make your life easier in this. Okay, so trinkets wise, Unblinking, I think it's called, Gaze of Seethe, I think it is, from Iskar in Hellfire Citadel is absolutely going gangbusters at the moment. If you can get your hands on this, get it. Insane damage. Second trinket that is busted at the moment is the Ghost Iron Dragon King. It is a crafted trinket that you can buy off the auction house unless you can craft your own. They sell for about 20,000 gold at the moment on the auction house. And the spawn, the Dragon King spawn from this is doing absolutely nutty damage. Now, keep in mind, there are a few versions. You want the level 57 version of this if you are going to buy it. Another busted trinket at the moment for this is the Ravaged Seed Pod. Now, this comes from the first boss in Emerald Nightmare. It's got leech on it, it deals some damage, and it is really performing well at the moment. Outside of these trinkets, other options, your unstable Arcano Crystal from Earthworm Jim in Legion, the world boss. The Blood Spatter Scale is a nice one for clearing the Nether Horrors or even taking an Annihilation on Cruel. Shard of Analyde's Aegis is also another really good option, and the Defense Matrix, which I just spoke about before, is another strong choice. So what doesn't work in the Shadowlands Mage Towers? Well, any borrowed power has been scrapped. So any old world legendaries, any tier sets, any legendary weapons, set bonuses, it's all gone. Okay, so you can still use the legendaries for their slots and their extra stats, like the Heart of Azeroth has got 3 secondaries on it and things like that. So you can still use them for that purpose, but all of their effects have been disabled. Your Covenant abilities have also been disabled. Okay, so let's break down the fight now. So we're going to break this down in phase 1 and phase 2. So phase 1 is a mechanics test, okay? So it's you fighting against Inquisitor Varus, and it revolves all around managing a debuff called Aura of Decay, kicking a heal, not getting knocked off the platform by Infernals and Eyes, and not letting the Nether Horrors kill you or Valen. So that is phase 1 in a nutshell. So the important things to know about it. What is Aura of Decay? So Aura of Decay is a big bad circle that surrounds Varus, and every time you enter that circle, you will get a stacking debuff on you, and this debuff reduces your maximum health and it continues to stack. Now the safe point for Aura of Decay is around 4 to 5 stacks. So get in, deal some damage, get 4 to 5 stacks, get out, wait for it to drop, get back in. Varus is going to cast a Mind Rend. Now this is an interruptible cast, it deals decent damage, and as long as you don't let your Aura of Decay stacks stack too high, you can let most of them go through. Now you can use Skull Bash, Typhoon on this in Cap Raw. The biggest thing is to make sure that you always have something available for the drain life. So I don't care what you use, you can let most of them go through, but if you want to interrupt them, just make sure that you have one thing always available for drain life. Drain life, this is the heal that I've been banging on about. You have to kick it. If 1 or 2 ticks go through, it's fine. It's not the end of the world, but make sure you kick it. Tormenting Eyes, these are eyes that will spawn around the room and they will lock onto you with a green beam and they will channel. Now, once that channel finishes, if you are not facing the eye and where that green beam is coming from, it will punch you back, and it can punch you back an absolute country mile and off the platform. So just be aware of these. They do die really quick to Moonfire and Sunfire though. Smoldering Infernals, These are adds that spawn throughout phase 1 and carry into phase 2. They don't actually die. What happens is they walk around and they pulse damage, and it drains their health as they're doing that. They will do a large frontal smash as well whenever something gets in range of them, and if you get caught in that, you will end up flying off through the wardrobe as well and straight into Narnia. So you really need to be paying attention to where the infernals are. Never waste time DPSing them. If you want to dot them, go nuts, but do not sink any time into them. They kill themselves, they banish, they respawn, and that's just the way it goes. Nether horrors. So these spawn in phase 1 and phase 2, and they will stack a debuff on you when they hit you called Psi Talons, and this will increase your arcane damage taken by 10% per stack. They will also cast an ability called Nether Storm, which is pulsing damage. Now you need to ensure that you pick these up ASAP, so they'll spawn out of shadow doors around the encounter space. Get Moonfires up on them because they will make a line straight for Valen, or Corvus if Corvus is active in phase 2. And if they start hitting them, they clean them up very quickly. If they Nether Storm on them, they absolutely murder them in like 1 or 2 ticks, so you have to be really careful. Now, there has been a change that has occurred with these Nether Horrors. What used to happen when the tower was first brought out in Shadowlands is they have a 3-second ramp cast for Netherstorm, and then the channel of Netherstorm is 6 seconds. So there's a 3-second precast and then a 6-second channel of the Netherstorm. What they were doing is they were moving while doing this 3-second precast and moving while doing the 6-second channel. Now they will pause in place while they do the 3-second channel, the precast, and then they will move once they start doing the 6-second channel, and they move really quickly. It's not really a change that's done anything. What you want to do though is when the 6-second channel is going off, so the one that they're moving, that's where you want to incap Raw, because that will mean that they will not recast it and it will stop the cast. If you incap Raw in the 3-second build-up, the one where the ads are paused, they will just instantly recast it. So just be aware of that. If you are going to do that, it's fine, but you need to be able to murder them before they come out of the stun or the disorientation, whatever you've used. Prophet Valen. So Valen is present and he'll do everything he can to ruin your attempt at getting this tower completed. He'll create some healing orbs that instantly heal you and clear your debuffs. They do not clear Aura of Decay though, just know that. It will also interrupt and blind all enemies in the area. So you can use these orbs whenever you need to. Try and use them wisely though, and try and carry as many as you can into phase 2. If you can't get a drain life, for example though, run into an orb. If the Nether Horrors are about to murder Valen with Netherstorm, use an orb. So use them wisely. Don't be afraid to use them, but use them wisely. Okay guys, so phase 2, we're almost there. So once you've killed Inquisitor Varus and you've shown that you can do mechanics, Cruel is going to come down and the fight gets really serious. Now the eyes will no longer spawn, you will still have the Nether Horrors, and however many Infernals you had in phase 1, you will now have in phase 2. The best part is that you no longer just have one NPC trying to ruin your mage tower, you now have 2. So this phase is all just about Blizzard trying to overwhelm you with fight visuals and things going on. It's relatively simple if you try and break it down, and it's a lot easier than it sounds, but this phase is all about pushing as much damage as you can, having a CD order for Annihilates, kicking Twisted Reflection, and picking up the ads. That's it. So High Lord Cruel is going to hit you with a hard-hitting ability called Annihilate. It's going to leave a debuff on you, and all subsequent Annihilates after that are going to deal more damage, and every time you get hit, you gain another stack of the debuff, and I think it's like 110% extra every single debuff application. So you need to have a way that you're going to deal with these Annihilates in your head, and then you need to stick to it. So a roadmap for Annihilates would be Iron Fur for the first one, and then Iron Fur plus Barkskin for your second one, Survival Instincts for your third one, and then Survival Instincts and Barkskin for your fourth one, for example. And you can do it in a sort of a different way if you want, but that's the kind of overlap that you need. Then what you want to do is you want to start delaying those annihilates out by using your orbs, your in-cap roars with the ads. If you've taken Mighty Bash, this is where you would be using Mighty Bash. But that's the idea. You only want to sort of take 4, a maximum of 5 annihilates. You would struggle to live 5 annihilates. His health has actually been nerfed by nearly 10%, so you should be on target for only having to take 4 annihilates anyway. But just keep that in mind. Now, you've got your orbs in phase 2 as well. So you use these if you're on low health, if you want to delay annihilates. If the nether horrors get past you and you're struggling to pick them up, again, they're going straight for Valen. So what you need to do is get to an orb if they start going to Valen, and they're there, they're going to start casting that nether storm, get to an orb ASAP. Cruel is going to cast a thing called Twisted Reflection. You have to kick this. You have to kick it straight away. If you miss it and you can't get to an orb within a nanosecond, your attempt is absolutely balked and it's done. So focus interrupt, Twisted Reflections, interrupt it. Last thing, Nether Stomp. Cruel's going to jump to you. He's going to leave big green fire circles. They deal damage to you. You just need to get out of them. Generally, it's easy to sort of keep moving around the outside with Cruel, just so you're already moving when he goes to do the Fell Stomp. The Nether Stomp, sorry. All right, let's cover off the video. Let's cover off the fight, and I'll walk you through it. Okay, guys, so here we are in the Mage Tower. I'm just going to pause this really quickly. Here is my gear, same as I showed you on the screen before. So same setup. Now, phase 1, a really popular strat, and I'm not a great druid, okay? I stay in bear form and like tanking keys and things like that, but I'm not a great druid, okay? I don't know the ins and outs of boomies. If you are comfortable and know what you're doing, a really good strategy from a lot of people is just blitzing through phase 1 in boomy, going into bear to skull bash or pick up the ads, and then straight back out and into boomy and blitz. What I did was I Heart of the Wild at the start and boomied and then just went into bear. I came out to apply things like Sunfire and Moonfire. Try and keep your dots on Varus and the ads when you can. But if you are comfortable, absolutely Heart of the Wild and blitz as much of this phase 1 as you can. In boomy form, you will probably progress quicker, far quicker through it than if you were in bear form. Now, let's just while I've been prattling on. So I'm starting here in my Heart of the Wild. These are the eyes that I'm talking about that spawn, okay? This Inquisitive Stare. This is the green beam. So I got a weak aura here, and you can also see the cast. So it's a 5-second cast, and at the end of it, you have to face the eye to avoid being knocked back. So all you have to do is just be looking at where the green beam's coming from. Now, Varus cast his first drain life here. Now, one other thing you can do as well, phase 1's got a lot of rhythms in it, okay? So if you start far back with Varus, he'll cast 2 Mind Rends and then he'll go into a drain life. If, however, you come in close to Varus, where I am now, and even a little bit further forward, you'll actually get like 4 or 5 Mind Rend casts before Varus will cast the Drain Life, which means that you can get a little bit more pump out of your Heart of the Wild before you have to go into bear form. So here comes Drain Life here. So I'm going to Skull Bash in, and then I'm going to come out and I'm going to pick these ads up. I'm going to pop Incarn because I took Incarn. I'm facing my eyeball here. Now, this is the nether. These are the nether horrors that I'm talking about. So they're coming out of these shadow doors around the outside. So I'm just going to try and Moonfire them and things like that as soon as I can, when I can. Now, I want to show you the cast that I'm talking about here, okay? So with the change now, when they go to start casting this 3-second ramp up for Netherstorm, they will stay in place. In this one, they were moving, but they will stay in place when they go to cast this 3-second build up. After this, they will start the 6-second channel. Now, I'm going to kill them all, but this one up here is going to start doing it. This 6-second channel is when they're going to start moving again. If you're ever going to interrupt them, this is where you're going to in-cap roar them, because it'll shut the cast down and it'll stop them from recasting it immediately as well. So I'm on the edge of Aura of Decay every time I've got the ads. Reason being is when I use in-cap roar, it will interrupt Varus as well. So you can use that for things like interrupting Mind Rends, or if you have to get a drain life as well, you can do it with that as well. Now I'm in a Typhoon to interrupt that one because I'm out in Boomy form and I'm just dotting everything up, getting my dots on Varus and putting some Star Surges and Starfires into him. Horrors coming out here, so the Nether Horrors again. I'm just trying to pick aggro up. Generally, if you get aggro on them, or if you've got the cloak like Fortified with Fortified Leech and things like that on them, you'll have no issues in drawing aggro, but just be aware sometimes they will ignore you. Now you can see I incapped the ads here to stop the cast, so I'm moving over to the edge of Aura Decay. They've gone into the actual Nether Storm. Incap interrupts Varus as well. This is the smash from the Infernals. So these Infernals, they just walk around, okay? They just walk around pulsing damage, and this is why we don't waste any time on them. Every time he pulses damage, he's losing health, okay? When I run past them, when you run into rage, they're going to do that smash. It's a large shadow that goes on the ground. They can be disorientated as well, but all you need to do is move out of those shadows, that frontal smash. So I go in and take an orb there as I was a little bit low, and then I'm straight back in and on to Varus. Okay, so I'm just trying to get as much damage as I can. I'm getting to 5 stacks of Aura of Decay, and then I'm getting out. So I've got that 5 stacks of Aura of Decay reducing my HP. I think it's 8% per tick. I think it is 8% per stack. Ad spawning again, so I'm just in Boomy form, just trying to get a little bit extra damage on. Drain Life's coming out here. I'm going to Typhoon Varus off that again. I've got Nether Storm coming up. I'm going to Incap Roar. I don't have Bark Skin for this one. It's 2 seconds off, so the timing sometimes won't line up, but they generally will, where you will have Bark Skin for most of those ads. I've gone back into Varus here. My stacks have dropped off. This Infernal's following me in, so you can see that pulse. I've got an eye that's starting to look at me as well. So I'm just going to make sure I'm facing that. I'm going to get dots on it. Drain Life's going to go here, so I have to go back in, and I end up with 6 stacks, and then I'm just going to take an orb, okay? So don't feel like you can't use orbs in phase 1. Just be smart about them. I just didn't want to take the risk with 6 stacks of aura there, and the Infernals and the ads coming and things like that. I was just like, I'll just get full health. Nether Storm coming off here, so I'm going to incap as soon as it starts. I think I was a little bit early there. I was. So you can see what happens when you do it early. They go straight into a recast, and the problem with this is if it's on Valen, for example, and you haven't killed them yet, if that Nether Storm goes off, it will kill him. So just be aware of that. So I take an orb there to finish them up, and then I'm going to push Varus and go into Cruel here. So nice push into Cruel. I don't have any ads up at the moment. Just try and be aware of that. It's never a great idea to push with Cruel as the Nether Horrors are coming out, so keep an eye on your timers. DBM have a great challenge package for this. So Cruel's down. I've used my drums. I would have used a potion of Unbridled Fury here, but I forget to pot, so I don't use any pot. Twisted Reflections going off, and that's the interrupt that I was speaking about. So Cruel comes down. You would pot. You would use your drums, and then start moving him around. Now, one thing that I didn't mention are these cutter beams, okay? So see these purple beams? They don't deal any damage to you, but they will push you back. If you can, the preference is to run around these beams versus trying to jump over them. If you have to jump over them, try and jump over a single strand of one rather than one that's on a cross, like a cross axis. Because what will happen is if you jump over on the cross, you will get pushed 2 different ways generally. And if you're going for an orb, it can get you killed, put you into an infernal slam, and it can be really tilting. So try and run around them, or try and make sure you're jumping over one. So I'm just going to move with Cruel around the outside. I'm trying to keep the orb area as free as I can. Here comes the first Annihilate that's going to come. So I'm just taking this one with Iron Fur. Twisted Reflections going. I'm going to make sure I kick that. And then I'm actually just going to go into an orb and just try and delay. I've got orbs up, so what I'm just trying to do is get as much damage as I can into Cruel before I get any more Annihilates. Now I've got ads coming up here, so I gain aggro on one. Nether Storm's about to go off. I'm going to incap. I incap too early, so they're going to go off straight again. So now I've got no choice but to get into an orb. Otherwise, they would have wrecked me fairly heavily. Now, the other reason I had to go into that was because Corvus, when she is active in phase 2, she will chill on Cruel's ass here, okay? Now, Corvus, as an NPC, does not have the brain power that if the Nether Horrors are casting Nether Storm, which will fuck her up, she doesn't have the thought to be like, you know what? I'm just going to chill on the outside. I'm just going to stand here and wait for it to be done. No, she goes straight into it and she gets absolutely melted. Valen's the same. That dude could walk away too, but he doesn't. So just be really aware of that. That's where you need to orb. That's where you need to in-cap raw at the correct time to make sure your NPCs don't die. So because I was early and they were going to go for a recast, I had to go into an orb so Corvus didn't die. Watching out for these infernal smashes here, just trying to get cruel away from them, but trying to stay with, sort of around my orb. Got cutter beams going off here, so I'm trying to make sure that I'm only jumping one here. I've popped Incarn here as well, so I've got that little bit of safety. Ads are up now, so I got a nice in-cap raw there on time there. Took an orb here, probably took that orb a little bit too early, but I'm okay. So third Annihilate coming in here, so I took this one with Survival Instincts. My next one's going to be Survival Instincts and Barkskin for the fourth one. So again, Cruel's been nerfed by this much HP, so this fight would be over now if you were doing this post-nerf. So the damage check is far easier now. It was really tight, but it is far easier now. Now I was early on that in-cap raw, so now I'm gonna get on. I was early on that in-cap raw, sorry there. So they're gonna go straight into a recast here, which I cop one tick of that with a fourth Annihilate with Survival Instincts and Barkskin, which dropped me quite low. So if I had have timed my in-cap raw right, I would have been far better off there, but that's okay. And now I'm just hanging around waiting for another orb spawn. I'm just gonna finish up Cruel before these ads sort of start making their way over. Watching the Infernal Slam because you can still die here and get punted off, and that's it. So as I said, his health has been nerfed. I think it's like 9% now, so this fight will end a lot sooner. It was tuned really well, like it was really, really tight. And I probably don't have the fastest phase 1 out there either. There's people doing phase 1 a hell of a lot quicker. But that is it, guys. So if you've got any questions, hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, I'm on Discord. I'm trying to help as many people as I can get through this. It's a great skin. And yeah, if you've got any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks very much for checking out the video. I'll see you all next time. See you, fam.